we're much better at sleeping comfortably than we used to be as humans. But we are not better at being united. We're not better at dealing with quarrels. Alright, so we're in an app called Pocket Vedas, as you can see on the top left. I think you pay around 12 euros for it. It gives you a whole bunch of books like Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Samhita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Suparisad, Krishna book, Mukunda Mala Stotra, Narada Sutra, Nectar of Devotion, Srimad Bhagavatam, Nectar of Instruction, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Teachings of Queen Kunti, and Teachings of Lord Kapila. A lot of very cool books. And we're going to read the preface to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Not very long. For this, we'll reduce me and put on my glasses. This preface is written by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and the one who presented Srimad Bhagavatam in the English language, and the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and many other books, all of the books that we went through and I mentioned. We must know the present need of human society. And what is that need? Human society is no longer bounded by geographical limits to particular countries and communities. Human society is broader than in the Middle Ages, and the world tendency is toward one state or one human society. The ideals of spiritual communism, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, are based more or less on the oneness of the entire human society, nay, of the entire energy of living beings. So, for example, we don't just subscribe to the idea of being vegetarian. We don't just subscribe to the idea of not being racist. But also, what about speciesism? What about having a prejudice against other species? Killing them at will for our tongue and our bellies. And so the need is felt by great thinkers to make this a successful ideology, right? The oneness of the entire energy of living beings. Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need in human society. It begins, therefore, with the aphorism of Vedanta philosophy, Janmadhyasya Yata, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1, first verse of this big book, which has 18,000 verses, to establish the ideal of a common cause. Janmadhyasya Yata refers to that God is the original source of everything, and that we should know how to behave in relation to Him. All of us, like that. So there's oneness, a oneness of a common cause. Human society at the present moment is not in the darkness of oblivion. It has made rapid progress in the field of material comforts, education, and economic development throughout the entire world. But there is a pinprick somewhere in the social body at large, and therefore there are large-scale quarrels, even over less important issues. There is need of a clue as to how humanity can become one in peace, friendship, and prosperity with a common cause. Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need, for it is a cultural representation, for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. The common cause that we can have in this world is not a material common cause. Materially, we have a lot of differences. Materially, we have limitations. Materially, there is envy and greed and lust and pride. But spiritually, there can be a common cause. Because spiritually, we are not lacking. We are filled with joy. Spiritually, we have unity. There's no difference. We're all as spiritual as the other. We have all of the bliss, all of the eternality and all of the knowledge that we need inherently as part of us, as spirit souls. Satchitananda is the nature of the spirit soul, eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. So, but a re-spiritualization is required. Right? So much advancement is made in various ways. You know, we're much better at sleeping comfortably than we used to be as humans. But we are not better at being united. We're not better at dealing with quarrels, dealing with hypocrisy, and dealing with those differences that are there in the material plane, because we don't have a common plane. We need to learn about that common ground that's there. A re-spiritualization of human society is needed. Srimad Bhagavatam should be introduced also in the schools and colleges, for it is recommended by the great student devotee Prahlad Maharaj in order to change the demoniac face of society. Kaumara acharet pragyo dharman bhagavatan ihadur labam manusham janmatad apyadruvam artadam. Bhagavatam 761. Disparity in human society is due to lack of principles in a godless civilization. There is God, or the Almighty One, from whom everything emanates, by whom everything is maintained, and in whom everything is merged to rest. Material science has tried to find the ultimate source of creation very insufficiently, but it is a fact that there is one ultimate source of everything that be. This ultimate source is explained rationally and authoritatively in the beautiful Bhagavatam, or Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the transcendental science not only for knowing the ultimate source of everything, but also for knowing our relation with Him and our duty toward perfection of the human society on the basis of this perfect knowledge. It is powerful reading matter in the Sanskrit language, and it is now rendered into English elaborately, so that simply by a careful reading one will know God perfectly well, so much so that the reader will be sufficiently educated to defend himself from the onslaught of atheists. Over and above this, the reader will be able to convert others to accepting God as a concrete principle. The missionary effort is always a part of self-realization. When one realizes the spiritual truth, one naturally wants to share it with others. But then, as mentioned here, one needs to sometimes defend oneself from the onslaught of atheists. Some people are very intelligent. They're using all their intelligence to argue God out of existence, not knowing that God Himself is giving them the intelligence to do that. But one has to be expert and one has to be convinced if one is to try and spread this knowledge of the spiritual science. And the Srimad Bhagavatam equips one well to be able to do that. An important thing, much needed. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the definition of the ultimate source, It is a bona fide commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the same author, Srila Vyasadeva, and gradually it develops into 9 cantos up to the highest state of God realization. The only qualification one needs to study this great book of transcendental knowledge is to proceed step by step cautiously and not jump forward haphazardly like with an ordinary book. It should be gone through chapter by chapter, one after another. The reading matter is so arranged with its original Sanskrit text, its English transliteration, synonyms, translation, and purports, so that one is sure to become a God-realized soul at the end of finishing the first 9 cantos. The 10th canto is distinct from the first 9 cantos because it deals directly with the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. One will be unable to capture the effects of the 10th canto without going through the first 9 cantos. The book is complete in 12 cantos, each independent, but it is good for all to read them in small installments, one after another. Isn't that something special? The transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. God is a person, and God does things in the spiritual world. And what he does in the spiritual world is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, passed down through an unbroken chain of disciplic succession from authoritative, self-realized souls. This is not a mental concoction. This is not a made-up story. These are actual pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's special. It's very special. And it's really interesting and very nice to read. I must admit, Srila Prabhupada is saying, I must admit my frailties in presenting Srimad Bhagavatam, but still I am hopeful of its good reception by the thinkers and leaders of society on the strength of the following statement of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 11. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo Yasmin pratishlokam abadhavatyapi namanyanantasya yashon kitani yach shrinvanti gayanti grinanti sadhava. Translation. On the other hand, that literature which is full with descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, and pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a transcendental creation meant to bring about a revolution in the impious life of a misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though irregularly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Om Tat Sat, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, dated at Delhi, December 15th, 1962. A revolution of the heart, a revolution of consciousness, an adventure in self-development, an adventure in God consciousness. One's life will change for the better and for good, forever, when one embarks on this journey of God consciousness. So as I said, you can access these books on the Pocket Vedas. You can also access them on the Veda Base. I'm going to put links in the description to the Veda Base, which is an online platform. And you can buy these books as well and various platforms. I'll put some links in the description. And I'll also put a link in about a kirtan that you can watch and listen to. The chanting of the names of God. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comment section below, and feel free to reach out through the link in the description.